Do you want to get $1,000 of free AWS credit? Yes, you can get it absolutely for free, and this is valid for 2 years. Not only that, you can get it from $1,000 to $10,000 of free credit by Amazon. For those of you who doesn't know about AWS, AWS is an Amazon's cloud platform, which is one of the leading cloud platform service. So without wasting your time, let's get into the video. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do subscribe because I'm going to upload a lot more free stuff and undisclosed free earning methods in this YouTube channel. Let me tell you the prerequisites. You should have an AWS account. If you don't have, we can create that in this video. That's not a big deal. The main thing that you need is you should have a website to get approved. Go to amazon.com/console and click on create a new account. Here, enter your email ID and your name, then click on verify email address. You'll get an verification code to your email, paste that over here and click on verify and create a strong password. Then you have to enter your personal details like phone number, address, and your country postal code. Once you have entered that, click on continue. You have to enter your credit card or debit card, but don't worry, AWS does not charge any amount without your confirmation. AWS account, it's for personal use and the ownership is individual. Then it will ask you to select the support plan. I suggest you to select basic free support because the developer and business support costs you a fortune. If you need the support, you can select it later inside the account. So I suggest you to select a free support plan. And here is our new AWS account just created in 1 minute. By the way, I have written a detailed article on how you can create AWS account within 5 minutes. I'll put the article link in the description. Feel free to check it out. To apply for the AWS Startup Credit, type AWS Startup Credit in Google and click on the first link, Build Your Startup. Once you get this page, click on Join Now and it will ask you to create a builder ID. This is different from your AWS account. So enter your email ID and your name and click on Enter. Here you'll get a verification code to your email. Copy that and paste it over here. Once that is completed, create a password and then click on AWS Builder ID. Once that is completed, again click on Join Now and enter the details over here. Here in the role section, I'm entering as a developer and my company name is Bioli and the type of company is education, and you can give whatever suits to your business. And in the country side, I'm selecting India. And you have to add your address and the phone number as well. Phone number is mandatory. By the way, if you don't have company website, you can easily create one under 1,000 rupees. If you want more details on that, let me know in the comment section. And here at the top right corner, click on AWS Credit. Here you will get two options. Here we have two options. One is the founders tier and the second one is portfolio tier. For the founders tier, we'll get $1,000 of free credit and it is valid for 2 years. In the portfolio tier, we'll get $100,000 of free AWS credit. For the portfolio tier, we have to have an actual startup with the startup ID and other government documents. So most of us won't be having any startup or startup documents. So I suggest you to go with the founder tier. So now I'm clicking on founders tier. Here you have to enter your title. I'm entering as CEO and how long you have been using AWS. I'm using from past 5 years. So I have entered that. And not only that, you have to fill all the information showed in here. I suggest you to select genuinely because this won't affect the chances of getting approved. So you can enter it or you can just copy what I'm entering. Once you have entered all the details, you can simply click on save and continue and then link your newly created AWS account with this builder ID. Once that is completed, you can click on save and continue. Here you can see all the information that you have entered. Double check and click on submit. Once you click on save and continue, you'll get all the details that you have entered previously. You have to carefully review the details, and once that is completed, you can click on submit the application. AWS support will review your application and get back to you within 5 to 7 working days. To check your AWS credit, you have to log into your AWS application and go to billing and then click on credit. Here you can see your $1,000 free credit. And if this video is helpful, please do subscribe and don't forget to share this with your friends. And if you want to get 4000 GB of free cloud storage, you can check this video.